In 1983, Brentford suggested that their Division 3 match against Wimbledon would be played on December 25th at 11 AM in an effort to revive the old practice of husbands going to the football on Christmas Day while the ladies cooked the turkey. This was one of many initiatives to keep that old custom alive. On Christmas Day, Americans were able to collapse on the couch and binge on sports in addition to consuming uncomfortably large amounts of food and medicinal levels of alcohol. If the 3 NFL contests, which include the defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams hosting the Denver Broncos, don't pique your interest, the 3 NBA matches, which featured the LA Lakers among others, could. But not for the English Premier League supporters. On December 25th, there won't be any fixtures, as there hasn't been for the previous 57 years. The last time men's professional football was played on Christmas Day in England was in 1965, while the last time it happened in Scotland was in 1971. However, Christmas Day football used to be just as popular in England as it is now in America. It was essentially developed out of boredom, as so many things are, because there wasn't much else to do in the early 20th century after the turkey was eaten and the family fights were over. Football was primarily a working class activity back then, and working class festivities like pantomimes, concerts and movie showings were frequently held on public holidays. For the working class, whose homes were frequently uncomfortable, cramped and unattractive, a rare day off from work was an excuse to take to the streets rather than unwind at home, according to Professor Martin Johns, author of the book Christmas and the British. In 1889, Preston, who had won the championship without dropping a contest the season before, took on Aston Villa in what was effectively the Liverpool versus Man City of the time. Local derbies would regularly be played during Christmas, and clubs would not hesitate to schedule as many games as they could during the holiday season. Teams regularly scheduled games for Christmas Eve and Boxing Day, and it wasn't uncommon for teams to play on 3 consecutive days. Games were frequently replicated to maintain fairness. For example, Team A would play Team B on the 25th, and then Team B would host Team A the following day. For instance, Liverpool hosted Man City in 1913, won the match 4-2, lost the rematch on Boxing Day, and then drew 3-3 with Blackburn on the following day. In reality, Everton once played 3 games in 2 days. On Christmas morning 1888, they played a Lancashire Cup match against Blackburn Park Road. Subsequently, they played a friendly match against Ulster FC, and finally on December the 26th, they played another friendly match against Bootle. When Blackburn had a match against their local rivals Darwin on Christmas Day, but a trip to Wolverhampton Wanderers the next afternoon, this occasionally caused issues. Rovers rested half of their starting lineup for the latter game because it was thought to be more crucial, which infuriated Darwin and led them to do the same. This was not well received by the audience, which included members of both teams, and rioting ensued. The most famous Christmas Day game was likely played far from England and a football stadium. In 1914, hundreds of soldiers on the Western Front, close to the Belgian-French border, took part in a brief truce that featured a number of impromptu games. The fact that hostilities stopped for even 1 day is something cited as evidence of football's enduring influence, even if they resumed the following day. The popularity of Christmas Day football was dwindling by the late 1950s. For starters, getting there was more challenging because public transport was less common and train and bus drivers had the day off. People had more options, so they weren't limited by going to a football game to keep themselves engaged. Additionally, the installation of floodlights allowed clubs to host games on weeknights rather than having to schedule them during the holidays. In 1957, the First Division's final complete round of games was played. Blackpool defeated Leicester 5-1, Sheffield Wednesday and Preston drew 4-4, and Chelsea crushed Portsmouth 7-4 to cap off a memorable season. Only 3 top division games were played on Christmas Day the following year, and there was only one in 1959. That happened in Blackpool, where the custom persisted for a little longer primarily as entertainment for visitors to the seaside resort. When Blackburn came to Bloomfield Road on Christmas Day in 1965, it was there that the final English League game occurred. Blackpool defeated the opponent 4-2, with Alan Ball contributing 2 of the goals, while a brass band played carols before the game. He would play for England in a World Cup winning squad the following summer. Since then, there hasn't been any football in England on December the 25th. The Steel and Sons Cup final is customarily held on Christmas Day, save when it falls on a Sunday. This tradition persisted in Scotland when Christmas fell on a Saturday until 1971, and continues to this day in Northern Ireland. Therefore, on Christmas Eve this year, Dunmurry Rec FC played Bangor. There are matches in Turkey, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel and Azerbaijan, among other places if you do want to satisfy your football appetite. In 1983, Brentford suggested that their Division 3 match against Wimbledon would be played on December 25th at 11 AM in an effort to revive the old practice of husbands going to the football on Christmas Day while the ladies cooked the turkey. This was one of many initiatives to keep the old custom alive. The West London Woke Brigade, however, wouldn't stand for that blatant example of sexism, and after some objections, the plans were abandoned. Few have given it another shot because there is basically no interest in it today. Football fans are typically creatures of habit, and in English football, Boxing Day football may currently be the biggest calendar habit. On December 26, we either bundle up and go to the stadium or stay inside with the leftover alcohol and chocolates from the day before and spend the day watching TV. This Boxing Day, the Premier League may be watched virtually continuously from 12:30 until 10 PM, with short intervals for refreshments or warming leftovers. Nobody wants it to change. This has been the case for years, including the authorities, broadcasters, fans, teams and players. New customs replace fading ones. Even while live sports aren't often in high demand on Christmas Day in the UK, there will be a few football enthusiasts in the country casting jealous glances across the ocean.